All right, time to fire up Old Reliable. The season's getting closer to an end. There's a lot of talk about who's a part of the future and who should be on their way out the door. So let's talk about my 5 members of the Commanders who are on the hot seat. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and I appreciate you joining me here on the bye week so we can see where the temperature is being turned up under the chairs of several different members of the Commanders organization. This could be the front office. This could be coaches, could be players. I don't know. You have to wait and stick around and see who is on the list. But guys, before we jump into today's video, make sure that you do hit the like button if you're new around here. Also hit that subscribe button as well. Link to join the Full Command Discord is at the top of the description. I know that we are off this week, but I offer $100 every game week to anyone who correctly predicts the score of the Commanders game. And also I do monthly giveaways. Gave away a Commanders Super Bowl throwback Jayden Daniels jersey just at the end of last month. So that sounds like something you'd be interested in. Then make sure that you do join the Discord. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch it over to the new layout. Before we get into the players that are on the hot seat, though, I want to talk about who is not on the list. And I won't ruin everything, but there are a couple of key people that I wanted to point out. The first player who is not on the list today is Josh Conerly Jr. Now, I recognize that there is a faction of the fan base that is firmly committed to the idea that Adam Peters has no clue what he's doing. He is the bane of our existence, and he needs to be shown the door so that we can actually progress. A lot of people in that group are directing their frustrations with Adam Peters to Josh Conerly Jr. and saying, because I don't like Peters, the guy he drafted first, yeah, that's not for me. That's not my guy. Well, let me give you a couple of notes on Conerly here. And shout out to Nick Ackridge of Pro Football Focus at PFF_Nick Ackridge on X or Twitter. Over the last 3 weeks, 0 sacks allowed, 6 pressures, had 2 last week, either 1 or 2 the week before that. A 76.4 overall PFF grade, the 3rd highest among rookie tackles in that span. Keep in mind, he was the 3rd or 4th rookie taken, 3rd, 4th tackle taken in the draft. So that lines up perfectly there. And he has a 79.5 PFF run blocking grade, the 9th highest among all tackles, not just rookies, in that time frame. You are seeing the progression. It's a 22-year-old kid, recently turned 22. Actually, is he even 22? I should know this off the top of my head. He is 22. He had a birthday on November 5th. Happy birthday, Josh Conerly. Recently 22, only played 2 years of college ball. Someone who every single person, evaluator, coach, player, scout, everyone knew he needed to develop the play strength. He's going to do that when he gets an offseason in the NFL weight room. But you're seeing him making strides as a rookie. So shout out to Josh. Shout out to Cliff Kingsbury. Shout out to Bobby Johnson, the Commanders' offensive line coach, and everyone involved. So Josh Conerly Jr. is not on a hot seat. Also, Dan Quinn is not on the hot seat. Not saying that Dan Quinn will be around 4 years to come. What I am saying is I understand the way Adam Peters wants to maneuver this franchise. If there is going to be a firing, it's going to be Joe Witt. And if there's going to be another one, it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury. Dan Quinn, you listen to the players in the locker room, they have not turned their back on him. They say it's a player issue. They say it's their own fault, not the coach's fault. They still go to bat for DQ. He's a guy, Adam Peters wants there to be a very close-knit family relationship in the locker room. And that's what DQ has cultivated. So he will be getting another year. And then lastly, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Genuinely, I cannot. Jayden Daniels is not on a hot seat. I respect everybody's opinions, but it is a fact. It is not an opinion. It is a fact. The Commanders are not considering a future without Jayden Daniels. So if you're trying to make the case that the injury concerns, the juice might not be worth the squeeze, and we need to cut bait with Jayden before it's too late. The Commanders have not had an elite quarterback in 30 plus years. They finally found him, and the solution to some of his problems is to cut bait and move on from him, according to some people in this fan base. Not accusing you of being bad fans or anything like that, but this is an insane idea. Utterly insane. It's not happening. We have a guy who just dragged an awful roster that was assembled on the fly. 2/3 of players were not on the team the year before, with new ownership, with new management, with new coaching, and he almost single-handedly dragged them to the championship game, where he still played pretty well, even though we got blown out. Jayden still played pretty well. Starting off this year, solid against the Giants. Really, worst game of his career against the Packers. I get it. Gets injured, comes back, looks phenomenal against the Chargers, and then he gets injured again. Jayden's got to learn to protect himself, sure. How about we maybe see what he looks like with a really good running back or a really top flight receiver or a deep receiving core, an improved offensive line? How about we just wait to see any of that before we turn our backs on the best thing that has happened to this franchise in 30 years? Just my idea. So Jayden Daniels is not on the hot seat. But you know who is Mr. Number 1 on this list? The number 1 guy on this list, and this is going to come as a surprise. Many of you might not even know that he is actually a Commander, because the deal only got done a day or two ago. Actually, I think it was yesterday. Jake Moody, the Commanders' new kicker, signed off the Chicago Bears practice squad, right from Chicago, right on over to the hot seat. The Commanders' kicking issues are well documented. They have run through 8 kickers since the start of last season. Matt Gay didn't work out. They cut him after giving him the most guaranteed money a kicker had ever received in NFL history. Matt Gay was terrible. We had no confidence in him to make a kick from beyond 50 yards, and it cost us in this last game against the Dolphins. So in comes Jake Moody, who Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers got a little too, I don't know if it was him or John Lynch or whoever, but got a little too high on their own supply, a little too full of themselves, reading their own news clippings. And they drafted Jake Moody, a kicker from Michigan, in the 3rd round of the 2023 draft. So Moody's only 25, 26 years old. And he comes in as a strong talent. To be a kicker drafted in the 3rd round is ridiculous. However, in his career, he is only 13 of 21 from 40 to 49 yards. So he's making less than 2/3 of his kick in that range. And he's 6 of 12 from 50 plus. So he's Matt Gay from 50 plus, and he's significantly worse than Matt Gay from 40 to 49. Only made 76% of all attempts in his career. That is very bad. Hopefully can improve. That's all I'm going to say. Now, Moody did get in a fight with Deebo when they were both back in San Francisco. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But the Commanders' kicking issues are real. You don't need me to tell you that. And this is the next guy who's getting his opportunity. And I'm putting him on the hot seat because he's the most expendable player on the roster right now. But he's also playing for a lot. Because if he can actually, I don't know, do a good job, dare I say, this could be his position unchallenged for years to come. So it is Jake Moody who winds up unexpectedly on the hot seat. Now, I actually just mentioned his name. Number 4 on the hot seat is going to be Deebo Samuel. So Deebo's 29. He'll be 30 in January, I believe. Born in 1996. Deebo's on a 1-year deal, making $17.5 million this year. There's a lot of talk about, is he going to be back or not? Here's my theory. The Commanders are already paying a 30-plus-year-old receiver big money. Now I get that $15 million or so, whatever Deebo's going to ask for in his next contract. Heck, maybe it's even more. Maybe it's less. I don't know. It's not Terry McLaurin money right now, but it's still committing a solid amount of money to a receiver in their 30s when you already have one of those on your roster, when he has been injured along with many of your other receivers, when your team has not just been old, but they've looked slow and they've been injured so much this season, you are increasing the chance of all of that sticking around by keeping Deebo on this team. And this is not a personal attack of Deebo, because I've actually been relatively pleased with the job he's done. I think he would look even better if there was a quarterback who could throw the ball down the field and respectable deep threat receivers that were lining up next to him. I think Deebo's performances, the good characteristics would be accentuated a lot more. But because we don't have that and everything's close to the line of scrimmage, which is where Deebo wants to play, he hasn't looked as good lately. I get all of that. Deebo's on a hot seat because a 30-year-old player who plays with his level of physicality, it's just not going to age well. It's simply not. And we see this in all sports. You see it where when Jordan got older, he went into the post more. When LeBron got older, he learned how to shoot threes. Players evolve their games so that their skill can account for some of their physical drop-off when they get to the later years of their career. Deebo's style has greatly accelerated the decline, at least that's my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people. Hasn't necessarily happened yet, although there have been maybe some signs, and the regression could happen very quickly for a player with that level of physicality. So we go to the skill piece of it. Is Deebo a phenomenal route runner? Does he have terrific hands? No. So giving him a 2-3 year deal, it's not something that would personally be on my radar right now. Now he can sort of almost force us in a good way into giving him that contract with how he plays the rest of the year. Or if he starts to look slow, if he starts to look old, beat up a little bit, gets injured, he's probably going to be on his way out of town. So Deebo Samuel checks in at number 4. Number 3 is a player that it's very disappointing for me to include them there. And there's not many guys on the roster whose silhouette look like this. So you might be able to take a guess that number 3 is Mr. Jer'Zhan Newton. Johnny Newton was drafted to be a disruptive interior force specifically against the pass. And if you look around the NFL, of course, there's Myles Garrett, who is currently on track to break the single season sack record, although he has 9 sacks in 2 games, which is wild in and of itself. Yes, there's Micah Parsons, and yes, there's TJ Watt, and there's Aiden Hutchinson and players like that, Will Anderson Jr. Of course, there's edge rushers, but it's the interior pass rush that has really changed the way modern defenses and offenses have to play. So Johnny Newton was drafted to be that guy. He comes into the league with the foot injury, not able to really practice during camp. Okay, rookie season's a bit of a write-off. Comes back, shows some flashes in his second year, but as the year has gone on, I've seen fewer and fewer flashes and more bad play or just more stagnation. Now, this kind of came to a head on Sunday out in Madrid against the Dolphins because Daron Payne was suspended, so Johnny Newton got to start. What ended up happening? He didn't outsnap Sheldon Day by all that much. He had fewer snaps than Eddie Goldman and significantly fewer snaps than Javon Kinlaw. So that was a perfect platform for Newton to showcase what he had moving forward, and that's not what we got. Again, not saying there aren't some really good moments where you see the speed show up, whether it's on a stunt, whether he manages to wriggle free and he can create some pressure, whether he's cleaning up a play. But then there are plays where he gets thrown out of the way. He's not able to close a gap against the run. There's a lot of those plays as well. So Johnny, being a rising third-year player and a second-round pick, looking at the way the team is currently structured, I don't think Daron Payne will be back for financial reasons, the majority of that being financially. I think his cap hit is going to be gone. It's going to be used to or rather I think he's going to be used to send to another team to get some assets back and reduce the cap hit. So that would set up for Johnny to be the starter, but I'll be honest. The Commanders might sign a new starter to work alongside Kinlaw while Newton is still a backup. I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. And an early second-round pick is someone you invested a lot in, and we've not really started to recoup that investment. So Johnny Newton gets in at number 3 on this list. Number 2 is going to be someone who's gotten a lot of criticism, but maybe not big picture. We think, okay, we got to trade Marshawn Lattimore. We got to trade Daron Payne, this and that. Let's talk about Quan Martin. So the Commanders are currently projected to have the 7th pick in the draft. Edge rusher is the biggest concern for me. I'm a number 1 advocate of drafting Arvell Reese if he's on the board. I get he's a linebacker. He can rush the passer. If you want to, you can move him to edge rusher. So that accounts for pass rushing. Ruben Bain also going to be on that board. If those 2 guys are gone, my number 1 hope for the Commanders is Caleb Downs, who would occupy a starting safety spot. So is he going to start next to Quan Martin, or is he maybe going to potentially take his spot? Now, I don't say this out of nowhere, because I believe Quan had played every defensive snap this season. If he hadn't, he was like a couple of snaps off of it. Yet he only played 2/3 of the snaps available against the Dolphins. Shout out to someone in the comments. Wish I could remember your name. I'm sorry. But I told you I was going to go back and check the all-22 because I didn't notice it in real time, and I did. And I looked at the snap counts on PFF. And you were right. Quan Martin did not play most of the 4th quarter. So one really interesting thing that Dan Quinn said on Monday, it was his closing comment right before he left the press conference. He said Quan Martin was taken out of the lineup because some things had to be changed. That's saying it was performance related, was not an injury. So we know the guys who normally play 100% of snaps. It's Bobby Wagner, it's Frankie Luvu, it's Quan Martin, Trey Amos, and Marshawn Lattimore when he was there. It's those guys. So for Quan to be in that group of 100% of snap players and actually get benched shows how dire the coaching staff thought the situation was. And we can point to coverage gaffes. We can point to missed tackles. There have been a lot of areas to poke at with Quan Martin's performances this season. And I made this video, this style of video with players on the hot seat a month or 2 ago, and Quan was not on the list. He has risen very quickly up to number 2 because, again, if Bain and Reese are off the board, very easily the Commanders could draft Caleb Downs, who I think would be an all-pro in short order. And does that mean there's space for Quan Martin? Or even if they don't draft Caleb Downs, hey, he's going into the final year of his rookie deal. This is probably the best time to trade him if that trade's going to happen. So is he back next summer? I don't know. So Quan Martin's number 2. And then number 1, you might have forgotten about him because he hasn't really been around all that much. The player on the hottest seat in Commanders Nation is Terry McLaurin. It just is. There's a portion of the fan base that wants to blame Terry for everything that's gone wrong this season. There's a portion of this fan base that says Terry has been through so much. He earned his money. He deserved it. And you're turning his back on him because he got injured. Feel free to stay on your respective sides. I'm going to be in the middle, and I'm going to tell you how it is. Terry McLaurin is approaching his age 31 season. Look at the contract Adam Peters gave him and that he signed. Next year, Terry's cap hit is under $20 million. The 2 years after that, it goes up to 35 and then above $35 million. You can literally see the way the contract was written. They planned on trading him or cutting him after next season. So the question is, does that timeline get moved up 1 year because of what happened this year, where he didn't make a large impact on the offense early on. He gets injured. He comes back, has a couple of nice catches, but then he immediately gets injured again, and who knows how long he's actually going to be out. The guy who's selling points during contract negotiations where I'm consistent, I always get 1,000 yards and 75 catches, and I'm available. Never missed more than 2 or 3 games in my career. Not consistent, not available this year. When you talk about how do players age, how's a 31-year-old coming off of an injury, a nagging injury, how's that going to age? The Commanders are still trying to build for the long term. They tried to thread the needle of building for the future and building for the short term. It didn't work. That's why our roster's so old. That's why you've got all these one-year deals. So you have to fully commit to building for the future. So if you get a legitimately valuable trade offer, I don't think a second round pick's on the board anymore like it was last summer. Does someone offer you a third? A young player that you really like? You owe it to the franchise to take that. There's a reason Adam Peters was so hesitant to offer Terry more than $30 million a year. Because you can look, the vast majority of receivers over the age of 30, they hit that threshold and they decline. They might still put up good numbers. Davante Adams is still kicking ass in LA, but Davante Adams was a 1,700 yards, 17 touchdown in the season guy. So now that he's putting up 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, oh yeah, that's still awesome, but you're seeing the decline. And Davante's still awesome. This is not an attack at Davante Adams. Point being, how confident are you in a 31-year-old who is effectively on track to have missed most of their age 30 season and wasn't all that effective? How confident are you in them coming back and changing life for you? Oh, and by the way, don't forget, if you do keep him all the way through next season, when you get to that offseason and you look around and you say, okay, well, his cap hit's going to roll over. It's going to increase. So now we've got to trade him. Every GM in the league is smart. They might not be smart compared to other GMs, but they're smart. So they will look at that and they'll say, okay, so we're trading for a player whose cap hit is about to double to more than $35 million a year, and they're about to be 32 years old? Yeah, that doesn't seem like something I'm really interested in. So, Commanders, if you don't want him, go ahead and cut him, take the hit, and then we'll sign him after that. This is not me being on this side. I hate Terry McLaurin. He's to blame. This is not me being on this side. Terry's the best. I root for Terry more than I root for my own team. It's me being in the middle and telling it to you how it is. So, guys, that's going to do it for this video. The Commanders players on the hot seat. Once again, we have Jake Moody, Deebo Samuel, Jer'Zhan Newton, Quan Martin, and Terry McLaurin. Make sure that you go down to the comment section below and let me know what your thoughts are on this video. Hit the like button if you did enjoy. Even if you think I'm stupid, you still appreciate the content. Hit the like button as well. Subscribe if you are new around here. And make sure you join the Full Command Discord. I'm going to head out here, guys. I appreciate you all joining me. I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.